Number reduces. So this crowd of people that you see going to loot are not necessarily hungry. Number reduces. So this crowd of people that you see going to loot are not necessarily hungry and angry. They are taking advantage of the collapse of law and order that came as a result of protracted protests.
Mr. Adesina, if you would...
Mr. Speaker, we need to address certain things. The Nigerian youth, the social media, the social influencers, all of these are making the narrative that we are seeing today, except we are joking with ourselves. Social media, yes, though good, has its negative impact. Let me first thank you for condemning the wanton killings and carnage that happened at Lekki. When I went through the comments, I could not believe it, Mr. Speaker. The curses, the abuses from children. And I ask myself, is this Nigeria? What is going on?
Hello, good morning, and welcome to Today the News of Vanguard Live. My name is Dablola Ogunshaki, and I'm with my co-host Precious Chukudi. And of course, we read and give in-depth analysis of some of the stories making waves across Nigeria. And today is Friday, of course, it's the weekend. And when you hear people, they'll tell you, "Thank God it's Friday." So I want to ask you, Fred, what's our plans for the weekend?
Plans for the weekend? I think I'm just going to chill and just get ready into the whole weekend mood.
Okay, without wasting much time, let's start with the paper review. I will be starting with the front page of Vanguard. And here on page 5, on the front page, we have Knox as a presidency faults Amnesty on Lekki shootings. CSOs eat government over rejection of Amnesty International reports. Presidency rejects Amnesty International's report on Lekki shootings, says body doesn't run Nigeria, says group lacks all the facts, doesn't know beyond what it is told. Soldiers fired blank bullets at Lekki protesters, says ex-army spokesman. And that's the main story. And on page 2, we have COVID-19 will widen gap between rich and poor. And that's coming from the IMF. Davido scales others blast Desmond Elliott over social media regulations. On page 14, Lagosians panic over absence of policemen on roads. 7 school children, 2 staff, 12 others perish in Enugu accidents. That's a sad one. And on the front page, we have photo stories of vehicles burnt in a fuel tanker fire at Maitu area as a result of dilapidated dated sections outward Maitu axis of the Oshodi-Apapa Expressway, which have been reported severally by various news media. Now, the stories above on page 7, we have our economy too fragile for second lockdown, and that's coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. Still on page 14, Nigeria will engage stakeholders to ensure Okojo-Iweala leads WTO, and that's coming from federal government. Senate queries foreign affairs officials for spending 248 million naira in Germany without NAS approval. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, we are still counting members of policemen killed, says DIG and Southeast. And from Vanguard, we move straight to the Punch.
And on the Punch newspaper, we have main headline: policemen killings, IG begins command tour, force admits corps morale low. The writer says 28 officers killed in Lagos, Abia, Rivers, Oyo, Anambra, 4 states in 1 week. We won't return to duty. Respond to distress calls. Aggrieved policemen threatened. And we have Enugu truck rams into school bus, kills 21, injured scores. Also, sympathizers rescue a 67-year-old man who jumped into Kwara River. You can see that on page 5. And stories above, we have rice miller to shut down plants over looting. You can see that on page 18. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, power generation hits all-time peak of 5,459 megawatts. TCN says, you can see that on page 19. And that's what we can take on the front page of the Punch newspaper. We'll move straight to this day newspaper.
And on the front page of this day, we have a federal government promises to back Okonjo-Iweala to victory in contest for WTO DG. Nigeria's candidate confident to win has support of most members in system organization. And on page 5, we have a banditry auto crash claim 50 lives in Enugu and Katsina. And lastly, on front page of this day, we have a federal government payment of new electricity tariffs resumes next week. Targets 30 million consumers as nationwide distribution of free meters commences. You can see that on page 8. And that's all on the front page. And we'll be going on a short break. And when we come back, of course, we'll be going to the analysis segment where we'll have a guest who will be analyzing the stories with us. We'll be back.
Mr. Speaker, we need to address certain things. The Nigerian youth, the social media, the social influencers, all of these are making the narrative that we are seeing today, except we are joking with ourselves. Social media, yes, though good, has its negative impact. Let me first thank you for condemning the wanton killings and carnage that happened at Lekki. When I went through the comments, I could not believe it, Mr. Speaker. The curses, the abuses from children. And I ask myself, is this Nigeria? What is going on? Children cursing, people having the effrontery to enter an Oba's palace, hold the staff of office. Culture is gone. Mr. Speaker, in the next 5 years, there will be no Nigeria if we don't start now. The youth is not only those who do the peaceful protest. Those who have looted, who have destroyed lives, they are youths as well. Mr. Speaker, pregnant women went into malls, picked things and went away. When shall we change this narrative? I put it to all the celebrities out there, all the motivational speakers.
Number reduces. So this crowd of people that you see going to loot are not necessarily hungry and angry. They are taking advantage of the collapse of law and order that came as...
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. And my name is Damilola Ogushaki. I'm with my co-host
Precious Chukudi.
And this is the analysis segment where we have a guest who will be joining us via Zoom. And he's in the person of Dayo Akintobi, the publisher of Ilupeju Today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Damilola. Good morning, Precious. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Likewise. Thank you. And of course, let's just let's just discuss what is currently trending in Nigeria, and that's of the Amnesty International's reports. Yesterday there was actually a list released of some of their findings and why they think the army were responsible for the Lekki tollgate shootings. And now it seems the presidency have replied them saying that they actually don't have more information compared to that of the of the presidency. Now, what I'm going to ask you is, now, why do you think they were quick to dismiss these reports from Amnesty International?
Well, clearly the presidency is, I don't want to call it being in denial, but Amnesty International is a very credible agency who has proven itself over the years worldwide in terms of fighting human rights abuses, fighting injustice, and across the world, Amnesty International is viewed very credibly. A lot of people put substance the investigations are thorough. They don't make allegations or accusations willy-nilly. Despite the fact that they may not necessarily have operatives on ground in every country, they make sure that they do very thorough and deep investigations before they make pronouncements. As such, over the years, people have come to rely on their reports. So if Amnesty International says 12 people were killed at Lekki and that the soldiers were involved in shooting at non-violent protesters, we will give them benefit of the doubt because they have built up credibility over the years. As such, it is easier to accept Amnesty's report than to accept the denial of the presidency.
Okay, talking about the soldiers saying that they were not aware of these, the soldiers didn't actually go to Lekki, toll gates that night. We've had many responses from the army. Some say that okay, they were called out 24 hours after the violence actually broke out in Lagos by the Lagos state government. But former spokesman of the Nigerian army, Samuel said that soldiers fired back, fired blank bullets at Lekki protesters. Now, this is another report also coming in, and we've heard many things going on. So now the questions Nigerians are asking is, who are we to believe?
It's very difficult in this age, and the stories are numerous. It is virtually impossible to know the actual truth of what happened at this point. That is why. Finding a bit of data, basically any story and make it look credible. We've seen footage of what seems to be soldiers approaching the school plaza. We've seen footage of shots being fired. Nonetheless, it is quite at this point exactly this perspective we've heard now it is black bullets of the government's role in being there, fighting by Lagos State and so that it is impossible at this point to know the actual truth without more concrete evidence. Is that everybody is doing what America did, everybody's trying to tax. So everybody's denying culpability. But at the end of the day, something happened there.
Okay, I think we are still there due to network issues. I think, yeah. So, okay. Talking about these stuff, I actually saw a lot of reactions yesterday. I think it's back. Okay, Mr. Dyer, we have you back. So, still talking about these NSAS protests.
Sorry, I think I went off air there. Am I back on?
Yes, you're back on.
Yes.
Okay, so still talking about these NSAS protests and Lekki shootings, President Muhammadu Buhari, he has given ministers a week ultimatum to submit reports of consultations with their constituents on the hashtag NSAS protest, which was hijacked by hoodlums in different parts of the country. Now, the question people are asking is that it seems that the president is more focused on the looting and some other things that have happened after the Lekki shootings without talking about the Lekki shootings themselves. So, what do you have to say about this?
The presidency and the leadership of this country have a twofold agenda for the people as their responsibility. Number one is their security. Number two is their welfare. Those are the two primary key responsibilities of government. Keeping life and property secure, keeping that, and also seeing to the welfare of the people through various things like creating an environment where employment one should not be more important than the other, but one came before the other. The EndSARS protest is what precipitated the violence and the looting. So I think that equal responsibility should be paid, equal attention should be paid to both issues. Can you do one without doing the other? Well, first and foremost, we need to forestall a breakdown of law and order in order to protect the lives of our citizens. If the lives of our citizens are not protected, we cannot look after their welfare and well-being. So there is an interlocking relationship. They are not mutually exclusive. Say that one is paying more attention to one than the other. If you look at the issue of the EndSARS protest, government already said, well, you give me 5 demands, I accept your 5 demands, I will work on them. There are not things that can be done overnight. The one that can be done overnight, which is disbanding of SARS, is being done. The one that can be done overnight, which is judicial boards of inquiry, they've been formed, they've started sitting. Another one that can be done, compensation for victims. Lagos State set up a 200 million naira fund, and they've asked people to come and give evidence before the board of inquiry as to how they were brutalized, how they were assaulted, so that they can begin to process compensation for these people. So on the end of the some of the demands, yes, I know it goes deeper than those 5 objectives, but we have to start from somewhere. And government has started addressing those issues. On the other side of the coin, which is the looting, no society can survive in a situation of anarchy. No society can survive when there's a breakdown of law and order. So it is very important in light of the aftermath of the EndSARS protest, where we saw massive rioting, massive looting, massive pillaging, massive breakdown of law and order. It's important to arrest those tendencies first, so that normal daily life can continue. So I don't think the presidency is wrong in saying that the police should please step up to the plate and restore law and order in our communities and our country at large.
Okay, let's talk about the special advisor on the media and publicity to the president. That's Femi Adesina. He mentioned something very interesting to Nigerians, and he said anarchy actually broke loose before before Lekki shootings. For example, now he talked about that of Benin prison being broken loose before the Lekki shootings, and also the Orile police station being bought before Lekki shootings happened. And based on the facts that there were on social media, and of course the dates that Lekki that Benin prison was opened, these facts are actually not right. Now, what people are asking is that what does this actually have to say? What does it say about Femi Adesina being the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, and him not having the right facts?
Well, I'm not sure that's quite accurate. I'm not privy to the statements that you say Mr. Adesina made, but I will tell you one thing. He has a job to do. His job is to represent publicly the views of the presidency. His job is to act as a bridge between the presidency and the people. In the middle of that protest occurring, something went wrong between the police and the youth, and a shooting occurred.
All right,
Now,
Mr.
that
Dayo.
shooting, sorry, go ahead. You want to say something?
Okay, I was going to say that let's move on to other topics. As I don't know if you saw the video that was going all over social media of lawmaker Desmond Elliott, with what he was saying about social media. Did you see the video?
Yes, I saw that. Yes.
All right.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay, now this is coming from a day before the video broke out, when he said that he didn't make a video like that, and he also made another. He got into an interview yesterday where he spoke about the fact that what he mentioned in those videos was not, in that video in particular, was not what he actually meant. Can you tell us what you think about the video that came out yesterday?
Well, this is very important. On the surface of it, you don't come with the truth, because initially he said he didn't say anything about social media regulation. He denied that, because the report came out that he was one of those pushing this bill in the State House of Assembly, and he denied. And then in an interview, they now play footage of somewhere in the past where he had actually referred to the dangers of misinformation on social media, the dangers of fake news, the importance of regulation, and he was also said to have said some disparaging things. He referred to Nigerian youth as children. He said the role that celebrities and social media influencers played during the EndSARS protests was not a noble one. Well, he got caught with his pants down, and he has apologized. Said he was speaking out of emotion. He got caught speaking on emotion, and when you're under pressure, you can inadvertently say things you don't mean. Now, what I see from what has happened is that it is difficult to juggle two roles: the role of a Nollywood celebrity and the role of a lawmaker. The intersection of the two of them is a very dicey thing to navigate. I'll tell you why. As a Nollywood celebrity, he is a public role model. He is an influencer in his own rights. The youth of Nigeria adore him. They hang on to his every word, and they follow what he says. As a lawmaker, on the other hand, I mean, if any other lawmaker had made that comment, he wouldn't have created that kind of a ruckus, because even Minister Lai Mohammed has called for regulation of social media, and he continues to call for it, and it didn't cause this kind of a ruckus. But because Honorable Elliott is a public figure who identifies with the youth, identifies with celebrity, with Nollywood, anything he says is under the microscope automatically. So I think that as a celebrity, he needs to learn how to better navigate his role as a lawmaker.
All right. Speaking about regulation of the social media, would you say they should regulate the social media? Because before now, there's been reports of how some persons have said that various news, like fake news, travels through social media, especially during the Lekki shootings, where some persons were putting out pictures of people who said they died, and then later we found out that those people did not die during the shootings. What do you think about that? Do you think that social media should be regulated, or you think they should find a common ground on it or something? Mr. Dayo.
Freedom of a thriving democracy. There are certain freedoms that are integral to democracy: freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of the press. We should not seek to circumscribe any of them, because what those freedoms do is create a watchdog against excesses of government in a democracy. It is those freedoms that ensure that democracy can be sustained and can continue to thrive. Now, you say you want to regulate social media. That is going to put a curb on free speech. I understand that there are some aspects of free speech that are not sacrosanct. You can't go into a cinema, for example, and shout fire, 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 and cause a stampede where people die, and you say, oh, I'm just exercising my right to free speech. You can't do that. So there are certain freedoms that have parameters. If that freedom of speech has parameters. So I think the kind of speech that is seditious, that is treasonous, libel laws. Speech that you go intentionally with a mission of causing chaos, with a mission of causing breakdown of law and order, or advocating overthrow of government for those kind of things. Those kind of speeches should definitely have repercussions. I know that we have libel laws and we have slander laws. So if you go in a newspaper or you defame somebody's character and you get a lie against somebody and you say something that spoils his character, that person can sue you in the court of law for damages. But at the same time, we have to have some sort of responsibility for those who destabilize society through the malevolent use of words. So yes, while advocating that freedom of speech should not be circumscribed, I'm one of those who also say that there should be some sort of penalty.
Alright. Okay.
Alright?
Yes.
Did you get that?
Yes, we got that.
Did you get that?
Yes, you did.
Good.
Yes. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. It's been lovely having you, and thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Pleasure is mine. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Okay, we've been with Mr. Dayo Akintobi, the publisher of the pager today, and he have given in-depth analysis of some of the stories that are making waves across Nigeria. But to always get more of our top stories and what is going on, you can always visit our website www.vanguardninja.com, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel and some of our pages that are showing on your screen. And that's all from me, Damlola Umushaki, and also my co-host
Precious Chukudi. Thank you for watching.
Have a lovely weekend.
Number reduces. So this crowd of people that you see going to loot are not necessarily hungry and angry. They are taking advantage of the collapse of law and order that came as a result of protracted protests.
Mr. Adeshino, if you would back up a little. The protests were peaceful hitherto. The one that you are referring to right now were peaceful hitherto, until the introduction of the military and the shootings. It wasn't the protests that gave birth to these things that we're seeing. It was the fact that the military came with a high hand, so to speak. That's the way some people believe it panned out. So it wasn't because of the protests, which many people, perhaps even you as well, have applauded as being peaceful hitherto. But when the military came in and shootings came up, then the people were stoked, so to speak, and then this began to happen. Then all of the brigandage began, and all of that that we have seen that happened. The anger pretty much got to a head. Do you still want to say that this is not a reflection?
No, you are not.
Mr. Speaker, we need to address certain things. The Nigerian youth, the social media, the social influencers, all of these are making the narrative that we are seeing today, except we are joking with ourselves. Social media, yes, though good, has its negative impact.